Hello Karen, with your daily tarot read from Emerging Soul Tarot. You've guessed it, Shamanic Healing Oracle again. So we'll pull some cards and see what Spirit wants to say to us today. Bring Spirit. What do you want to bring to us? Okey-doke. Okay, we have, get my glasses on, I can't see, our psychic development, death, divine timing. And it's all good at the bottom. If you've been watching, you know these are messages that keep getting reiterated. It's almost like Spirit stuck in a groove here with us. Yeah, so interesting. They come up in different combinations, but very similar cards regularly. So for those of you who watch a lot, I hope it's helping you with your internal work. Okay. Okay, so yeah, it's all good. This is the sense of everything that happens for a purpose. It's never needless suffering. And that sense of everything that occurs is a teaching tool, you know, or it's got the potential to be if we're open. If we get stuck in kind of bitterness or unforgiveness, or we're stuck in, you know, a kind of negative pattern with what life brings us on life's terms, then it doesn't become a teaching tool, but it's exactly what it's meant to be. But if you kind of really embrace that idea, really hold that idea that every situation, good, bad, ugly, that comes to you is an opportunity for learning, then there's less emotion, less drama, less frustration, less angst about what's going on. We can kind of stop attaching labels, you know, to polarities, which is what situations are, good or bad. We often attach those labels. But this sense of not attaching that, of allowing life on life's terms, allowing the experiences, whether they're happening now, whether they're going to happen, or whether they're past experiences. It allows you to tap into your heart and open up to divine energy to flow without the blockages. So it's that sense again of, you know, are you a reactor or a responder? You know, if we don't knee-jerk reaction to react to the situations, then there's that sense, you know, if we don't, say for instance, you know, strike out verbally when we get hurt immediately, we may feel like doing that. There's nothing wrong with that running through your head as an initial reaction, but it's what we do with that. Do we then take that down and say, what is this about? What, you know, what is happening here? Why do I have this trigger, this response to it? So yeah, and the other thing we can do is just retreat from it, you know, and retreat away from life because we don't like certain things that are happening. So if you set that goal of learning, you know, that I'm going to open get some light in here a minute because we got storm clouds again, the great British summer. So excuse me while I pull that back. I don't want to stop the read. Hope that's a bit better for you. Yeah, so if you have that kind of attitude, you know, set yourself a goal that you can learn from every situation. It's a mental perception of putting your brain there and saying, you know, try it for a week. This week, everything that happens, I'm going to drop down into my heart, allow the feelings to rise, yeah, and see what comes. See what, you know, what am I going to learn from this? What, I think there's something Rumi said. He talked about, I can't remember the exact words, but he talked about allowing every guest that arrive at your door, and he's talking metaphorically, so the guest of anger, the guest of depression, the guest of wanting to strike out, allow them over your doorstep, invite them in, you know, let them laugh, well, laugh with the situation and have a conversation with them. So that's a sense. And we have this death. So this is the transformative power of that, basically. The death is, you know, when we allow those experiences in, when we're not trying to control what comes into us, what flows into our lives, you know, if we're not running away from, hiding away from experiencing life and people, then this transformative energy of death can come in, which actually will get rid of the negativities. It really is by observing honestly, truthfully, what's going on in us, and not hiding from our shadow aspects, because we all have them. Unless you're an ascended master, you will have them. You know, sometimes they're big, black, thick shadows, but embrace them, give them a hug, give them a kiss, say, oh yeah, look, there's a gremlin, there's something rising up in me again. But if we do that, there's this sense of the observation will change us. We don't have to necessarily do anything about what we see. It's the seeing of it that lessens the power of it. So if you get triggered by any sort of situation, I mean, I could write an essay on what used to trigger me, and, you know, still triggers me to a degree, but it's not the triggers, and it's not the feelings, and it's not the shadow aspects that arise up in us. It's how we respond and our perception of that. So they come up so that we can learn there's polarity, and we can put to death this sense of that's a good experience, that's a bad experience. Life then all becomes kind of quite joyous, really, because you don't feel threatened, you don't feel defended. And then of course there's this discernment that comes, because while we're acting out of this kind of knee-jerk reaction, we don't develop our discernment, because we're not being observers of what's going on in us, or we're only observing the things we want to. We're doing it on our terms and not life's terms. But that psychic development, you know, starts from a level of discernment, of being able to feel out in your body, you know, intuitively what is going on, you know, what is mine, what is coming from outside, that kind of embodied discernment of a situation. But if we're in a defensive mode, you know, if we're in that position of I need to defend myself, this is a terrible experience I need to get away from. If we're in that mode, then we're not going to be open to the flow, and that's not going to be open to that, allowing things to die that don't need to be there. We're not going to be open to that flow. And you know, we got the divine timing again, and this again, you know, this can all come in this life on life's terms, you know, this sense of wanting something to happen. So those of you out there who are becoming impatient and you want things to happen right now, and you've got this experience going on, then don't be just looking at the outcomes, don't just be looking at the end result. Look at what's happening in you now. When you're, oh, that's why I shut the curtains, you got that reflection. When you're in that position where things are not turning out as quickly as you want, not happening in your time, your healing's not appearing, this is not happening, this is actually the time to really deepen in to that sense of flow, to open up to your discernment, to observe, to see, you know, to see what needs to transform within you and around you. So again, it's a card of allowing life unfold, the ability to have access to all the information that's coming in, and that will be our light and our shadow, you know. I mean, within nature, you get a large object and the sun comes up, you know, look at the sunlight illumination, there's a darn great shadow cast. So the stronger the light, the bigger the shadow, the darker the shadow. So if you're on your spiritual walk, you'll find that, but it's a mystical law in that sense. And it's not that the light is good and the shadow is bad. That's not it at all. It's the sense that we're meant to find that connection, have the discernment, and see, you know, see the link between those polarities. Light and shadow are one. You can't have shadow without the light, it's just darkness. And you can't not have a shadow, you know, when there's light. They're connected, and that's the kind of process of that you know, the circumstance comes in, we step back, we observe ourselves, we observe our light, we observe our shadow, we discern what's triggering us, what is coming from outside, what belongs to us, and we allow spirit to come in to put to death and transform, transmute. I mean, death is transmutation, isn't it? So it's, you know, so there it is, people. So let life come in on its terms. Let what needs to die, die. You don't have to work at this. The work that we need to do is to observe and not to label, to observe and hold the polarities, and then divinity will come in, source, quantum field, whatever you like to call it, God, whatever, spirit, that will come in and it will transmute. It will show you what is bones, what needs to die. It will show you what has got flesh on it, you know, and what that flesh looks like. So I guess you get the picture. Yeah, so interesting. I love these cards. Let's pull a tree of life, healing. Spirit, give me a healing card. Okay. See our message. Oh. It's a bit stormy, people. It says try to avoid harmful influences. Yeah, and in regard to this, the harmful influence is our defensiveness, our wanting to run away, our not engaging, our not allowing life on life's terms, not allowing that flow, not allowing shadow to be illuminated. That's your harmful influence with this read. Alright, hope that was helpful. Alright, lots of love. Bye.